So, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know and we've seen, that the metaverse is something that holds certain mysteries, and we're all trying to demystify how exactly the metaverse is going to shape up for us. What is it that holds the realms of metaverse, and how exactly can we see the right quality of data, reusable data, and stable, decentralized networks that can actually give us the rich content that Metaverse has for us? So here, I have these three experts in conversation. I'm going to dive right in to get you all the insights from this conversation to our first question. And I'll begin with my first question to you, Virender. And this question is on how do you think that data-driven insights from the metaverse will actually impact organizations?
Yeah, so see, Metaverse will collect lot of data. Like the way we are doing into digital experience, we are collecting lot of data for various stage of customer life cycle, whether it's a lending industry or healthcare industry, we are collecting lot of data. But Metaverse is where we are collecting lot of behavioral data as well. So if this data comes to me, so if I'll talk about lending landscape, we can utilize this data to assess the credit worthiness, or we can utilize this data to do some kind of KYC verification. Right now people are using video KYC kind of thing, right? And there is a need of liveness detection in video KYC. Why? Because another person can play the video at front of the camera and can pass the video KYC. That's why liveness detection has came. Similarly, in metaverse, where lot of technology can be used together, someone can use deep fake and can generate a personality there, and then that person can also give the KYC verification. So all those things we have to collect the right data, and data in such a way so that we can identify which data is genuine and how we can utilize this data for the any kind of decision making, whether it's a KYC verification or credit worthiness check or even a fraud detection kind of check. So all this I think is going to help us. It's just that the way metaverse is going to collect the data, because these things are going to evolve more. Lot of high density data will come. When I say high density, lot of image and video data will going to come. So processing this data in real time and giving you the right result, it's also going to be challenge.
It absolutely calls for a lot of attention. And then you also referred to deepfakes that can be created amidst everything that happens on the metaverse, which actually leads to the next question, which I would like to ask you, Hariharan. And when we speak about all the data, we see that on the metaverse, there is a lot of user-generated content. And it's expected to grow in vast amounts over the years, considering that an average person spends about 1 to 1.5 hours every day in the metaverse. How can AI and data-driven tools particularly help in content moderation and ensure a safe environment for all of us on the metaverse?
First of all, the hype about AI needs to be cut down a little bit. I have around 40 odd patents, mainly in the field of NLP, SLM, DDL, LLM models. So the point is that when you talk about AI and you talk about data, there's a different spectrum altogether. When we are talking about the metaverse context, it's more about hyper-personalization. It's about your avatars. Okay, what you have got, what kind of personal data you have got, what can be morphed together, what can be clubbed together to create a digital virtual form of yours. That's exactly where the point is. Where AI comes into the picture is basically to create that hyper-local ecosystem environment for you. That's where the crux of the AI is. Or that's technically should not be called AI. It should be called as a deep learning model. Out of your own ecosystem, out of your own context-sensitive data, that's what we can absorb about it. So that's where AI comes into the picture. So-called AI comes into the picture. Thank you.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And all the deep learning and the statistical modeling that's been put into use on the metaverse is something that can only be, called for to drive all the kind of personalization that is happening on the metaverse, right down to every avatar and everyone accessing whatever they need within their small personalized environment that they've created for themselves. On that note, I'm going to ask Niranjan to add to the conversation and more from the point of view of security and privacy, considering the dataverse is an environment that all of us are particularly interested in being on, I'm sure, at least the next generation is. With view of an insurance company, and especially organizations in the insurance space, how can you address the privacy concerns which are becoming paramount? And what is it that companies in the insurance space need to do to protect consumer data within this entire immersive digital landscape?
Right. So metaverse is pretty new technology. So world started with statistical models first, uh, maybe like gamma models or Poisson distribution models. Then slowly moved towards regression machine learning models. Then came AI. Then came generative AI. So metaverse is a byproduct of Gen AI. Okay. Uh, so it's pretty nascent, especially in a industry like insurance, which is very much slow in adopting new technologies because of it has its own reason why they don't want to adopt new technologies. Because since 2 3 years ago, I saw many insurance companies in India, they moved their data from on-premises to cloud. So in next 5 years, I see a good adoption even in insurance companies. So metaverse will come at a very later stage. It's still in a POC stage as of now, but I see a good potential. So metaverse comprises of 5 different components. One is your digital twins like AR, VR, and head-mounted devices. Then 5G. Then comes your IoT devices. Then comes your uh, uh, maybe AI and ML at the top layer. So without data, and there are two components in metaverse. One is your digital avatar, and second one is digital twin or your digital asset. So all these two components needs good amount of data, right? And insurance company stands on two pillars. One is the top line of the business, and second one is the bottom line of the business. Insurance company still needs to look into the use cases, right? Like maybe in sales, maybe in customer service, I see a good use case using metaverse, wherein you are creating your own booths in your branch offices, diverting your customers into the booth like an ATM, giving them all fancy devices, creating your own metaverse studio, giving them personalized products, giving them personalized sum insured for your insurance product. But to do this implement this successfully, you need to connect many data points like CIBIL data point, your claim history, your policy history, based on which you can run real-time recommendation engines, scoring engines, fraud detection model as well. So immense amount of data is needed. 3D profiling is done to create your avatars. So lots of PII data goes into picture. Lots of banking related data goes into picture. Credit card details goes into picture. So there are two kinds of risk when it comes to implementing metaverse in insurance. That is, one is your digital twin risk. Second one is data security risk. So when it comes to digital twin risk, I want to say the hacking of the devices, right? Data theft. And when it comes to security devices, then risk there would be stealing of data, PI related data. So the solution for this is very much simple. The regular solution which you are doing, like having good password policies, then double layer authentication method for, and then using SFTP protocol to transfer the data, hosting the platform on your system, on your cloud rather than
Right,
private.
everything
Yeah.
that we can possibly do to secure,
So,
which
so
is
this is many companies are doing this, but with metaverse comes more responsibility and to deal with
absolutely.
care.
Absolutely. And while we are discussing everything on two aspects, whenever we consider something new and nascent, is the risks and the rewards both. I'd now like to steer the conversation a little more towards the rewards while we address the risks. So coming from the reward side of things, and I'm bringing this back to you, Hariharan, within the retail and the fashion industry, which is where you come from, uh, yeah, and these are highly experiential industries. So how can data be used to enhance customer experience? And what is it that can be done to drive the kind of personalization within Metaverse that organizations can build as imperatives?
See, both the retail, the fashion industry, the cosmetic industry, FMCG, each one of them can be super personalized. I know your patterns. I can engineer your behavior to the tunes of it. So that brings me a separate customer segmentation, and that's how the future is. So when we talk about metaverse, when we talk about anything across, it's not just the funny digital avatar. It is exactly knowing the tune of your data and the pulse of your beat. That's exactly what I would like to measure across. And if I can measure it, and if I can create a system or I can create a kind of a pattern about it, which can be reflective in my product, in my service, that creates the magical figures. And that will be hyper personalization. But along with it will come a separate set of risk also. None of today's security aspects will be of any concern tomorrow. The whole of the concern will be data poisoning. How I can locally poison your data through your own system, take it to the server, and then create a totally different version of yourself. And suppose if you are an influencer or if you are the event handler, I can create a separate personality out for you which you never bear to start with. So that's where the security features come into the future. It's totally going to be different. The hackers are going to be different. The kind of modeling is going to be different. It's not going to be the same thing. No SFTP can protect you. Nothing can protect you across. You need a different mindset for it. I need to understand what data to collect and what data not to collect. What data to handle at the local level so that you don't get into a compliance system. That's where the whole problem is.
Couldn't agree more. And yes, while it takes us back to basic marketing 101, where the data available on the metaverse and everything that we leave a footprint over is going to redefine the segmenting, targeting, and positioning strategies of organizations, it's also going to leave room for creation of alter egos. Thank you very much, Hariharan, for taking us through that brilliantly articulated response to that question. Virinder, my next question to you, and since we're talking about our respective industries, I'd like to focus on the industry that you come from, which is we talk about peer-to-peer lending. So how can data and analytics together with, of course, AI models within the metaverse help assess a borrower's risk profile and probably improve decision-making to do the right sort of matchmaking in terms of peer-to-peer lending?
Sure. So just to make everyone understand what is peer-to-peer lending, it's a platform where borrower can come and ask for loan, and a platform where investor can come and lend some money. Okay. And there are 2-3 options one any P2P lending platform can provide. One is automatically lending, where we develop algorithm which can lend to the people, and it will rightly identify the credit worthiness of person. Accordingly, it will lend. Another, you will get the choice to understand the person's persona. For example, a person with a good bureau score, with good banking or average bank balance is good. So all those options will be given to you, and you can choose those options. Now imagine in the metaverse scenario, okay, where you also have that person's social media profile or metaverse interaction, and then you will also try to understand, yeah, this person generally stays at one particular location at 12 hours a day. Maybe he's in office. And another thing would be, this person has not moved even 1 kilometer in last 1 month. If this kind of data point comes to you, then you might say that this may be a fraud profile or fake profile. Okay. And accordingly, you can take the decisions. So more power will come towards the lender side, where he will get the lot of data point to assess and choose the right person to lend. Eventually, the AI algorithm, what we have built, will always surpass the normal one person's judgment. But eventually, this kind of power will come to the lender. On the borrower side, borrower will also have options. Yes, I have to take 10,000 rupees loan. Maybe I will get some chances to get this loan at the lower rate what I can get from the market. From there, the person will have this idea that lender who is available in the market or in this particular metaverse profile will give me at lower interest rate. So that option will also be given. The other person may be offering 10,000, let's say at 18% rate, someone would be offering 10,000 at 12% rate. That option will also be shown. Eventually, everything, all this interaction will be saved as a record, and we'll be utilizing this interaction to, drive the better algorithm which can give us the better credit worthiness. The one most important point of thing which I mentioned, that here no physical meeting happening between borrower and lender. Everything is managed over a platform, or you can say a metaverse environment. So fraud perspective is very much important. And as Hariharan also told, that alter ego or maybe some fake profile or some fake persona can also be created. So for that, I think for the regulatory environment, it is also going to be little more difficult how to manage all these things.
Well, I have one more question before we touch upon the regulatory aspect, which you brought into the conversation. I'm very tempted to go there, but I have one more question, and Hariharan, to you. What I would like to understand from you is, how do you see businesses across various industries adapting to the metaverse And what is it that will be required to leverage the right kind of data strategies to gain a competitive advantage for companies that want to drive towards the metaverse, their approaches towards the metaverse?
See, the way today we are approaching fashion, I'll give you a fashion industry example and the gaming industry example so that you can understand. So the point is that the whole thing is about your personality and the kind of personality you're creating. When you talk about metaverse, you're talking about a virtual identity whom you want to dress up. So today you are in this dress, okay, probably you want to put it across and take it to your avatar. So it'll be totally new industry altogether. It'll create new industries for you. Okay, so somebody who is into fashion designing and garmenting might not be designing for a human at all. They might be designing for an avatar, for an alter ego. So that will be an entirely new spectrum, new industry. It could be your vocalization, it could be your voice control, it could be your modulation. It's almost as good as gaming industry. It will be a totally different market. And you're talking about lending. Have you seen virtual lending? The concept will come out virtual lending. What can you own on to the metaverse? See, that's where, we may call it paranoia, but that's where the future is. The problem is that you might be able to build a virtual asset with a virtual coin. That's where the future is going to be. So it's going to be a totally different industry. It's going to be a different security system. It's going to be a different virtual identification. Everything will change in the next 10 to 15 years. And whatever little segmentation, what we call is ML, using data manipulation structures, that will create a separate new context towards it. So it will basically be a gamification of you. That is the future. Virtualization is the future. Earlier it started with virtualization of your system, and then it will be virtualization of you, virtualization of your assets, virtualization of your persona. Everything is going to be very funny and dramatic. That's where the future is. Thank you.
Absolutely, and that calls to bring in that piece where Nike's Air Jordans that were designed only for the metaverse were sold out in a few minutes as soon as they hit the metaverse for sales. So that's the potential, and only avatars could dress in those Air Jordans. Those don't exist in the physical world. Well, so now we'll quickly touch upon the regulatory aspect, and while I would want to dwell on that piece for more than 5 minutes, I do see I have a view on the clock. So from each one of you around the table, and let's begin with you, Niranjan. Regulation and everything around the challenges that Metaverse poses for us, especially in terms of data privacy, in terms of digital ownership and virtual asset protection and regulation. What is it that regulatory bodies need to do to assure that we have a secure experience over the metaverse? What can be done?
See, there's nothing that we are doing it currently from insurance per se, insurance industry per se. Is not that we are doing something different what Metaverse will be doing. We are doing the same personalization, recommendation engine, be it fraud identification or propensity modeling. Everything would remain still same. It's just the experience which we are giving to our customers would prep up using Metaverse. So all security protocols are still there, but that needs to be customized with respect to Metaverse, because I see real-time implications of all these models. So accordingly, the cloud needs to be the cloud security needs to be more personalized, and right set of solutions needs to be implemented when it comes to security policies. So at this point, I don't see any much change with respect to security protocols, but when and where the use cases gets matured, then to reevaluate.
Brilliant. Brenda, your take on this?
So I believe there are a lot of factors which will taken care by regulators, especially on the consent side. Right now, whatever happening on consent side, we know that we provide OTP or we click on the I agree button over any app. Okay, but this is not going to be same in Metaverse, because this can be easily managed. It's very much important that the regulator will definitely come on the consent should be recorded in specific way. Maybe IP which is not fraud, the IP which is very legit, and the device location, everything. So they would come up with some kind of criteria where the person's identity should be verified properly and the consent taken from the person should be captured properly. If this is been sorted, then at least the first part of the regulation, that consent and verification, will be sorted. After that, data theft and other things are other challenges. Maybe that at that point where Metaverse will be fully fledged developed, the data theft will be little different than what is happening right now. For that, I think different mechanism will come. But for time being, I believe that consent and verification will be very important factor, and regulator will definitely try to take care that, and they will bring the specific criteria for that.
Brilliant. And Aryan.
Everything will change. Everything, each and every single security mechanism needs to change. Then only you'll work on the mechanics. So you need to understand that everything will be a pattern-based, biometric-based semantics. Nothing will be like your OTP and your system, because each one of them can be faked in 5 minutes, believe me. That's what the factors are. So everything will change. Your whole compliance system needs to be retuned towards making it algorithmic and pattern-based semantics. That's the future. So each one of them will be a challenge. So none of the old-based systems, they probably will work till the step we get into the metaverse. But once it is picked up, then none of this is going to work. We need a different, entirely algorithmic-based pattern system. That's what will survive. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, that pretty much, is what we had time for about 2 minutes ago, which is what we've exceeded. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for that brilliant conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, as we can see that, yes, we've tried to demystify the mysteries of the metaverse to a little bit, but we've only scratched the surface. This conversation can go on for hours, and we'll see insights after insights coming in from each one of our esteemed panelists. But to that, over the networking break is what we can do. So thank you very much.